38 years ago on March 14th of 1988, a man was born. A man was born to Del Curry and his wife, a woman who many announcers have inappropriately discussed how beautiful she is on live television. A man was born. That man would grow up to become the single most entertaining basketball player we have ever watched. And in 2015, that man would win his first championship and his first MVP. And in 2026, in a play-in game between the 9 and 10 seeds in the Western Conference, he would remind everybody why he is who the heck he is. Wardell Stephen Curry, one of the 10 greatest NBA players of all time, put on a show last night against the Los Angeles Clippers. He finished the game with 35 points and 4 assists. 27 points were scored in the second half. This game was one we were anticipating, even though the Warriors have struggled all season long, because we got the opportunity to watch Steph Curry in a big spot again. Something we have not really got to see a ton over the last few seasons since his championship in 2022, I believe it was, against the Boston Celtics when he had one of the greatest finals we've ever seen. Steph Curry is the all-time leader in points in play-in games, for whatever that's worth. But it reminds us that when Steph Curry is on the biggest stage, he shines and flourishes. And it reminds us that we want to see more of that player. I am dumbfounded and awestruck by watching 38-year-old Steph Curry play basketball last night. His ability to do the same things that he's done over the last 15 years in the NBA is unbelievable. His movement without the basketball, his ability to hit tough, contested three-point shots off the dribble from 30 feet is something that we may never see again in an NBA player. And the gravity that he forces to make all of his teammates around him so much better is probably more so than any NBA player that I can ever remember or have ever covered. He makes every single player on the court better, get better looks, get better shots, get open dunks, open three-pointers, because of the gravity and the fear he puts in his opponents. Last night, we watched the Golden State Warriors win the 9-10 matchup over the Los Angeles Clippers, a team that had been very hot over the last few months, 126-121. Steph Curry was on a minutes restriction. Now, he never really plays high 40s minutes because he moves so much. He does have to get breaks here or there. He played 36 minutes and had 35 points, and like I said, scored 27 of those in the second half. But part of what makes him so impressive is what he does for his teammates, like I just mentioned. Al Horford hit 4 3-pointers in the fourth quarter of a very important game. Draymond Green played one of the greatest defensive games you're ever going to see and reminded us everything that made Draymond Green so important to this dynasty that the Warriors had. And even though I think Draymond has moments where, his offense is rough and he goes a little over the edge with his emotions, when he is locked in on the defensive end of the court like he was last night, holding Kawhi Leonard to, I believe it was 0 points or at least the first 11 minutes of the fourth quarter, it is one of the greatest defensive performances you're ever going to see, because Kawhi Leonard is almost unstoppable. His mid-range jump shot, and after the game, Kawhi Leonard said he almost couldn't get a shot up against Draymond Green. It's why sometimes when we hear these conversations putting Victor Wembanyama already in the greatest defensive player ever conversation, I would like to wait and see how you perform in the biggest moments on the defensive end of the court, because I've seen some spectacular stuff out of Draymond Green. Kristaps Porzingis is an unbelievable fit next to Steph Curry. Obviously, we know Kristaps is off the court quite a bit because of medical issues, injuries, all sorts of things, some weird sickness that we don't really know what's going on. Doesn't sound like they know what's going on, or maybe they're just not telling us. But when he is on the court and hitting those, flat-line three-pointers and dunking the ball and driving, he may be one of the greatest center fits that the Warriors could have ever imagined next to Draymond and Steph, because Draymond's really not a great shooter. Porzingis can really spread the floor and open up that space. And with Steph Curry, it is tough to play a pick and pop, pick and roll defense against Kristaps Porzingis and Steph Curry, because you can't really switch because Kristaps' size And it's also, he's such a good, quick three-point shooter. And you're so worried about Steph that it's almost impossible to guard. So this Warriors team was so impressive last night. And if we could have got the opportunity to see this team fully healthy, I would have loved to see them going into the playoffs with Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Kristaps Porzingis, Draymond Green, Al Horford, Gui Santos, Brandon Podziemski. Gui Santos last night gave us 20 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. It was a plus 16, the best in the game. He played really well and hit some big three-pointers. Podziemski had 17 points. Like I said, Porzingis had 25 and 5. Draymond had 7, 9, and 6, but on the defensive end of the court was doing so much and was 3 of 5 from the field, so you're more than happy with that. Al Horford off the bench gave you 14 points on 4 of 7 from the three-point line. Again, I believe all 4 of those three-pointers were in the fourth quarter in key spots. He had a 3, I believe, to tie the game, and then a 3 to take the lead. And then you have players DeAnthony Melton, Gary Payton II coming off the bench as well. Both gave you 7 and 6 points, respectfully. This Warriors team, it is so important to me that next season they make sure they have an obligation to NBA fans and the league and their fan base to make sure that Steph Curry has the ability to play in big, important games next season. They might win their play-in game tomorrow night against the Phoenix Suns and make the playoffs and play against a very, very good Oklahoma City Thunder team, and they might make the playoffs. But that will be a tough first-round series, although with Steph Curry, if they're able to keep all these guys on the court, I'm never counting Steph Curry out of any series, even at 38 years old. But they have an obligation to us fans to make sure that that man, Steph Curry, is given the teammates and the opportunity to play in big, important games. Because when we saw him in the Olympics and what he did to France, with his teammates being some of the greatest players of all time and some of the greatest players in the NBA today, they deferred to Stephen Curry to take those big shots against France in the gold medal game. Because that is who Steph Curry is. And we've seen it time and time again. This lineup could be interesting next year. Jimmy Butler, if he's able to come back and get healthy. Kristaps, we'll see. Al Horford, I don't know if he's going to play another season. Draymond Green, all these guys. They also have they're also in discussions to make a big move, potentially for a Giannis Antetokounmpo type, maybe LeBron. You never know on those kinds of things, but we have to see Steph Curry in big games because the Warriors last night looked like a team that potentially didn't want to make the playoffs, if they were being honest. They're 37 and 45. They had made some comments about how Steph was going to be on a minutes restriction. Draymond kind of acted like he wasn't sure that he even wanted to make the playoffs a few weeks ago, and some of his comments wanted the season to be over. And so you wondered, how much energy are they going to come in and play with against a Los Angeles Clippers team that had been playing awesome basketball and Kawhi Leonard playing at the peak of his powers? How are they going to be able to, or how much effort are they going to give in this game? Well, in the first half, they were down 8 points going into halftime. Then in the third quarter, they won that quarter by 2, being down 6 going into the fourth quarter, where they scored 43 points with unbelievable performances. Just go back, if you would, and watch the highlights of that fourth quarter and some of the shots the Warriors were hitting. Al Horford, Kristaps Porzingis, Steph Curry, all these guys were so much fun to watch and reminded us why the Warriors were a dynasty and why they're a legendary basketball team. It feels like a supernatural experience when you get to watch this Warriors team fire on all cylinders. And obviously they don't have Klay Thompson, a significant piece of that dynasty, and it feels a little different without having him on the court. But those other guys stepped up and hit big shots, and you still got the Steph Curry show and Draymond Green defensively. Draymond had multiple incredible stops on Kawhi Leonard to where Kawhi couldn't even really get the ball up the court. They tried to pass it into Kawhi in the half court, and Draymond was just stripping him immediately. It was really unbelievable. Draymond had 4 steals in the game. Unbelievable performance from the Golden State Warriors. I can't wait to watch them against the Phoenix Suns, but it just reminds me of how special watching Steph Curry is when his team is healthy and they're in big competitive spots. It's one of the greatest viewing experiences you're ever going to see if you're a basketball fan. And it's why he's one of the most popular players of all time. And he's a top 10 NBA player of all time. I did a video on this a few years ago after they won the championship over the Boston Celtics. And the way that he ripped the heart out of the Boston Celtics was truly, a huge exclamation point on an incredible career of Steph Curry. But we would love to see him get just one more opportunity to make a run with a really competitive basketball team. And I hope that he performs well against the Suns here in a couple nights and gets the opportunity to be in the playoffs against Oklahoma City Thunder. But next season, Golden State, please give us a great team surrounding this man and let us watch one of the greatest players of all time perform in the biggest spots. That's all we got for you regarding last night's game. Appreciate y'all watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you love NBA content. Cyborg out.